Like softball can't just be another chore that they have to do, like homework from the time that they're 12 on. That's so detrimental to the longevity of their career. And honestly, there's a lot of kids that are treating softball like a job from the time they're 12 until when they graduate from college. And those are the kids that are finding it hard to enjoy the game. And they're missing some of the life lessons that sport can really, really like dig into them and give them.
Welcome to the Car Ride Home podcast. I'm joined in the car ride home today with Morgan Stuart. Excited, Morgan, to continue our conversation from all month about defense and life and all other things. But Morgan is the founder, creator of Defense Club, a professional infield coach, is what I'm going to label you as. A national champion at University of Washington, has both professional and international experience. And I'm pretty sure we can find you every week working with infielders and probably talking defense. Morgan, welcome to the car ride home.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to continue talking about defense.
Okay, so we always set the stage in the car. Obviously, car rides are a big part of our athletic journey. So you're in charge. What kind of music are we listening to in the car?
Oh, geez. Let's see. Today for my workout, I was listening to Women of Pop, and it was just whatever came up. So we had some Megan Trainor on there. We had some Beyonce and Texas Hold'em. Uh, Whatever came up for those. I was really in this women empowerment mood this morning.
I like it. I like it. Well, next most important is where are we eating on the car ride home? And you could do it like, where are we eating with a young Morgan and where are we eating now? Maybe it's the same.
All right. I really want right now an In-N-Out burger. I would go protein style probably now. Young Morgan really, really loved bread, so I would go extra crispy bun. But there you go.
I feel like those two questions give us a really good perspective on who we're in the car with.
Yeah, how old are we? No more bread.
So I got to tell myself that sometimes. What is when I ask you this question, I'm curious, the first thing that comes to mind about what's your most memorable car ride home? And it could have been as a youth athlete, a college athlete, professional. What's the most memorable car ride?
That is a great question. I mean, the first one, this is, uh, I don't know if this has anything to do with like what my parents told me or anything like that, but um, I think most memorable would be on the ride home from a Marty Tyson Corona Angel practice. And it wasn't my family taking me home. It was Leslie Rogers, who played at ASU, one of my good friends. Her parents were driving me home. We didn't drive yet. So that just takes me back to thinking about all the people that I've grown up with that now we still keep in touch about. She just had her first baby and all of my other teammates who have moved on in their lives. And I just remember that nothing of consequence was talked about. It was just, wow, I can't believe Leslie's mom was driving me all the way back to Riverside when they lived like closer to Corona, like driving me way over here. Like they're really good friends. And I love that about our game. And I think it transcends to like all levels is we find some of our best friends in sport. And yeah, I just remember that and just like, wow, I can't believe they're driving all the way out here. That's pretty cool.
That is what was because we all, right? Like I grew up outside of Houston and my parents had to drive me during the week for practice, during the weekend for tournaments. What did your youth commute look like, whether it was for midweek training, games, tournaments? What did that look like for you?
Well, I lived in Riverside, and it's a lot of people are probably listening from California because we got a lot of California Alliance hookups going on. So I grew up in Riverside, which is more Inland Empire. And so we were always driving out either to Orange County for clinics, which I was driving around an hour, like most weekends out to games. And then weekly, I come from an era where we only had probably one hitting lesson a week. I was in Marty Tyson's backyard. So that was probably a 35-minute drive once a week. And that was before his facility. We might have maybe like a field workout. Again, that's around Corona. So that's like 35, 40 minutes for me. But I view myself as one of the lucky ones, somebody that didn't really have to commute a lot during the week, but we put in a lot of like work by ourselves. So I was back in my backyard with my pitch back, but that was just a walk to the backyard. And so not a ton of driving, but yeah, every weekend, I will say not a ton of driving for me because it was my parents that were shuttling me back and forth to these games. But yeah, now it's a little bit different. These kids are almost every single day in and out of facilities. It's pretty impressive and
There
tiring.
are the cars. What's I always like asking this question too. With your parents, what was the difference like after a game of in a car ride with mom versus dad, or maybe both?
Oh gosh. My family was probably flip-flopped in that dad didn't really say a lot like, "Hey honey, great job." And he wasn't the one that was going to my hitting lessons. So he wasn't really in the mix of, okay, Morgan's really working on bat lag right now, or we're working on being on time. Like what she didn't really know what I was actually working on. But he was always super supportive, more of the strong, silent type. And my mom was very much like, can you just swing harder? I just don't understand. Looks like you're swinging slow motion. Okay. Thanks. Well, you know. But also I was probably way harder on myself than my parents were. My mom, she definitely was the one that knew every step that I was going through, even though I didn't really connect the dots until I was a lot older, that she totally got it. And she was looking at the right things. And I always was kind of in my own head of wanting to do better, being just very, very, uh, I guess, angry, frustrated on the car ride home. So a lot of times my parents knew not to talk to me a ton about the game. So I think I connect with a lot of my girls on that level of just understanding like the car ride home is can be a pretty intense place.
And you're trapped in there. It's really cool. I enjoy asking this question, and it's why we did the podcast like this too, because it's a very relatable moment. And if I chopped up all of the people I've interviewed and elite athletes like yourself, it's funny how it's a common answer about parents that understood, hey, I'm probably beating myself up right now. So sometimes it's just really important to be a cheerleader, or silence is a good thing. Now they have so many distractions. We didn't have distractions back in the day. Like, you're kinda stuck with each other and the radio. And that's it.
Yeah. And a lot of times it was like, can we turn the radio off? It's like, oh, okay. This is where we're at right now. Okay. Everybody just get in this space. Just breathe in the oxygen that is slowly being sucked out of this car. Yeah. I would imagine you have some really intriguing car ride home stories for sure.
They're pretty good. They're pretty good. I gotta go back. We're going way back here, but you mentioned it of growing up hitting with Marty Tyson. And Marty's obviously a founder, one of the founders of the Alliance, and just has developed many, many athletes through the Corona Angels program. What did that look like? You gotta like take us into the batting cage in the backyard of the Tyson household, please. Like, give us what that looked like.
Okay, before I go into this, because I don't want, like, there's a very clear picture in my mind of the Tyson household and the Tyson backyard, and so many people know it and love it and like attribute it to probably the reason why they understand so much about hitting. Um, have you heard any of this before? I'm just gonna ask that question.
I I don't think I have a in from a player's perspective. I haven't.
Okay, so let's do it. I'm gonna give you a little sneak peek. So back before the facility, hitting lessons were at Marty's house, and they always ran anywhere from 10 to 45 minutes late. Like you showed up And right when you got there, you were learning. It wasn't like you just kind of sat there and waited. It was, oh, shoot, the hitter before me is sitting here and she hasn't started her lesson, but now I'm in for like 3 lessons because you sat your butt down and he had a TV going outside. So it was VHS or DVD. I think like we kind of graduated to the DVD. And then it was like rewind, pause, talk about bat lag, talk about this. And you have your notebook out and you are writing notes down. If you're not writing notes down, Marty's asking you a question, what is bat lag? And if you do not have his precise definition, it was no, okay, like next person, next answer. So it was you're in the hot seat. And so I think that was one of the things that I loved about, maybe not loved at the time, but I appreciated about Marty was the ability to sit in the pressure and like be in that situation and just like, okay, I have to have an answer. Like game's on the line. What is it? What is it? What is it? Right. So there's that kind of acclimation to pressure and being on the spot and really that understanding and learning the game. I think that is something that I loved about those lessons was there was so much content. And in terms of the swing, like hitting didn't come naturally to me. I was very in my head. I was very mental. And so he gave me a great skeleton of what the swing was, what my steps were. And it was never like, okay, let's throw our hands up. We're defeated. Like you're terrible at hitting. It was, he had so much pride in his craft and pride in how he could teach the swing that it was, all right, this is what you got to do. Boom, 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 boom. And there was never like an off switch with him. So it was, you were kind of, feet to the flame, I would say, when you were at their house, but it was very beneficial to how the game is. Like when you step to the plate or when you get to that D1 college that you like work so hard to get to, that's not like feet up. Okay, we did it. We accomplished our goal. It's keep going, keep working, keep learning. And it was pretty fun. I mean, you're going back to back in these hitting slots of private lessons with Marty with like kids that are committed, kids that like there's a lot of people that went in and out of that backyard. And I mean, you can see from all the Corona Angels that have done really, really great things on a national stage, on a world stage. And I'm just very thankful that that was my experience.
That's cool. None of that surprises me, and especially, like, all of the learning moments. I feel like everything is a learning moment, but the fact of putting you, like, in pressure situations that weren't even necessarily in the cage, which I'm gonna do that. So, Morgan, what is bat lag?
Oh no, Jamie, do not do this. There's like PTSD when it comes to this. Like, oh gosh, I'm gonna get in trouble. Like that's the amount of like pressure because okay, one thing is I haven't thought about hitting in so long. So when like my friends that are coaches are talking about hitting, I was man, that sounds really hard. Like over on the defense side, it's like all fun for us. But yeah, bat lag. Oh my god. I know the bat gets parallel to the ground. I know that's where the barrel gets on plane. Yeah, other than that, man, you got me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's good. I'm with
I'm
you.
in
I'd
trouble
much
now.
rather
Marty's gonna listen to this and he's just gonna backhand me. I don't even know.
I love that. Well, can you, I'm just curious for my own I can't imagine, like, who's gone through those cages and worked with him, and you said it, like, international who were some of the athletes at your time that were probably, like, sharing cage time or, like, lessons?
I mean, just thinking about who was on my team, Kaylin Castillo, who transferred into ASU, won I think she won a national championship, but Leslie Rogers, my friend, she won two. I mean, there's just names that when I played, it's not going to be like Jocelyn Allen that like everybody knows, right? But all these people that I played with are just multi-level, like multi-time national champions, all Americans. So Kayla Castillo, Leslie Rogers, Kelly Waddell, who went to Illinois. Now, like all these people are in some way also still connected to softball. So, gosh, who else is on my team? I
I
Aaliyah Macon, who was also like UCLA national champion. I played with Aaliyah at Washington and then she transferred over to UCLA, just like super talented. And you don't even realize because you're growing up with these kids, these people, you're meeting them at 11, 12 years old. And then because you're in the fire, you're competing every single weekend, it's like, oh, we're all going D1. We're all now playing each other. And it gets to be really fun when you're playing each other at the World Series and just going, I guess we knew this was going to happen, but how cool is that to like meet these people when you're 12 and then eventually that's what's happening. And you're kind of seeing that like with the Alliance too. Like, that how cool is this footage going to be of this 12-year-old kid that's going to be at the World Series and you guys are documenting all their stats and like seeing like, oh, we knew this kid was going to be good because check this out, but it's just on a different level now, huh?
it's fun. I know because now it is accessible. We can watch them, we can record it, we have social media. I do it all the time. In our 3 years, we get 3 years of alums that are playing now, and I'm like, I love it. I'm like, "Oh, I remember her." I'm This is before Alliance, but I remember Tiare Jennings, like, leading off our national championship with a home run. I wasn't
Yeah.
surprised. Like,
You're
killing
like, well,
that.
I guess we knew this that she was going to be now Tiara as she is now, but how cool that you can see it.
It is well, you get to see it too every day with kids that you're working with. So we will switch to defense here and get both of us in more of the comfort zone. But I know that you're somebody that's passionate. We're talking travel ball, but it starts before that, right? So I'm gonna have you go back again. What did it look like when you first got into softball? And do you remember your first team name?
Yes. Great question. So I'm one of those kids that started in baseball. I had two younger brothers, so I'm the only girl in my family. And I was that person that wasn't thinking about college. I just really liked baseball. So I liked playing with the boys. I was a pitcher growing up. And it was one of my friends at the time. Again, I'm 10 years old. So I remember her name, Kaylee Stewart. It wasn't spelled like mine, it was the other way to spell it. She was my best friend. She's like, oh, I'm going to go try out for the softball team. Like, cool. Um, I don't really want to play with the girls. And I just knew that, but I wanted to hang out with her. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'll go to this team. And we were the Lil apostrophe rebels. And um, yeah, the sliders, like I ended up making the team and she ended up not liking softball. So I'm like, okay, cool. Guess I'm on this team now. And I went right into travel ball as Lil Rebels. Went on to like we transitioned into Dynasty or something. I don't know. It gets fuzzy with all the details, but yeah, I went from baseball into 12 and under travel ball. That was my first experience.
When you work with so many young players, and I'm sure you get a lot of questions from the parents because you're like the Switzerland too, because you get to not necessarily
Yes.
you aren't coaching the team, so you get to be that neutral party. What's your advice when you're talking to parents that are, "Hey, my kid is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. She's playing local. We're thinking about doing this tournament thing." What's your advice to those parents?
Um, Really good question. My biggest piece of advice is uh, be aware of the time commitment of switching from maybe rec ball to travel ball. Be aware of uh, why your daughter wants to play softball. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, if her why is like, I love this, all I want to do is play softball, that's a great reason why. If her why is like, well, you want me to do something after school, so I guess I'll do this. Not a good reason to play softball. Not a good reason to play travel or club sports in general, because I think um, softball is not cheap. Travel and all this stuff is not cheap. And so I think just really understanding what you're getting yourself into is super beneficial. Understanding that right now the ask time and money wise is pretty big compared to when we started playing travel ball or when we started playing softball. So like I know that a lot of my friends are getting to be moms and dads now. And so my perspective on it would be, I mean, obviously different because I'm in the business. I work as a coach, but if I didn't, I'd be like, oh yeah, you should totally do this because it's better competition. You're going to have a lot of fun. I know my daughter or son is competitive. So let's get him or her in the best situation and most fun atmosphere. But it can very quickly turn to not fun if we're not ready for the time commitment. And it's pretty high up there now. I know a lot of people, especially in this area, are doing defense lessons, hitting, weightlifting. A lot of these people are still pitching at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. We're still figuring out if that's going to be one of our things that we do. And then we've got team practice on the field. So 4 or 5 nights a week during the week, these kids and parents are getting their butts out somewhere. And then weekends are not your own. And that's something that hasn't changed. So yeah, it's kind of nuts. I mean, this is how I think about like youth golf has always been like, that's something that, okay, these prodigies, well, of course the prodigies, they're going to practice and like from the time they're 5 years old all the way up to the professional, they're doing this every day. But now that's how softball is kind of evolving into this wave of you got to do it every single day. And yes, there's different levels and there's different ways that people balance. There's also different ability levels and skill levels to start. But yeah, I think first piece of advice, keeping it simple, would be understand what you're getting yourself into and understand why she wants to do it. And if it is her that wants to do it and not you that wants to do it as a parent.
I think that piece is super important in having that conversation. I'm curious your perspective because oftentimes we could get compared like "Ugh, travel ball is killing rec ball. What's your thought on that statement? Is that true? Do you see it? Are they different? Just kind of curious of your perspective of what role rec ball and travel ball play and can they coexist as well?
100% they can coexist. I think they should coexist. I think rec leagues have such a great opportunity to introduce kids to the game in a healthy, fun way. Now, when I think rec ball can be tough for kids is when they've outgrown it and there's not enough resources in that rec league to make it competitive still. So there is kind of I think a way to make rec ball better for probably second year 10s through second year 12s, like that age range where kids can get really good really fast, especially if they're doing lessons. And if they're not competitive, those are the kids that are like, okay, I need to go to travel ball like yesterday. Right. And that's where you're seeing kids go to travel ball. But some of them, again, aren't ready for the time commitment or they just don't want to do that time commitment because they want softball to be fun, which I think it needs to be, needs to be. It's not an option, right? Like softball can't just be another chore that they have to do like homework from the time that they're 12 on. That's so detrimental to the longevity of their career. And facts, like honestly, there's a lot of kids that are treating softball like a job from the time they're 12 until when they graduate from college. And those are the kids that are finding it hard to enjoy the game. And they're missing some of the life lessons that sport can really, really like dig into them and give them. So yeah, I think I don't think travel ball is killing rec ball. I think the need to have what everybody else has is killing like the overarching like beauty of youth sports, which I think that comes in this package of you need to understand why your kid plays sports. Why? Like, why? Does your kid want to be a professional? Is the kid at that skill level? Does the kid want to play college softball? She's not going to play college softball when she's 10. So, like, what are the steps to give her longevity in her career? And I do believe that there's a big place for rec ball, but rec ball can get better with the resources. And that's largely what I try to do, like say in defense club, is give resources where there's a lot of parents that are basically donating their time, whether it's to their daughter's team or to other people's daughter's team and volunteering. That all these people have full time jobs and they're expected to go and teach softball when they're not actual professional softball coaches. So let's make it easy for these volunteers that are being so giving of their time and give them the right resources so that the kids stay in the program so that there is that buffer of, okay, rec ball, this is what we do on the weekends and maybe one day a week, to travel ball, which is this is what I love and what I'm committing to doing for 8+ years and what I know I have to do at least 4 times during the week after my homework.
There's so much good stuff in there that I, like, could just go on, but I completely agree with you. I applaud the parent that raises their hand and says, "I'll coach. I'll volunteer my time." And that's what I think we agree with the mission of let's equip them. I watch friends of mine now who are raising their hands, and some of them, hey, they played softball in college, or heck, maybe the last time they played was baseball in high school. So they're just reverting back to, okay, what drills did I do? And I'll do that. And it's like, well, maybe that's not the best thing for 6, 7, 8-year-old girls. And I just feel like if we can put the right resources into the local leagues, then we can grow the pie. We get more girls playing the game and staying in the game. You said keep kids in the program. I'm like, yes, that's I think should be everybody's mission. How do we
Yeah.
help these girls enjoy their experience and stay in the game?
Well, now in a world of like instant gratification, like kids, parents, everybody thinks that, okay, once I start playing softball, I'm going to get to this level. Once I start lessons, I'm at this level. And it's not the case. And the real cool part about sports is that it's not the case because that's not real life. Instant gratification is fake. It's just it is. And so the faster that we understand that and then the more that we can appreciate that great things come to those who wait, not those who don't do anything, but those who are patient in their process and learn how to work it and grind through it, appreciate where they are, appreciate where they have been, and then you learn this perspective that, uh, I mean, honestly, I haven't learned till now, like that perspective piece. And you can't rush that.
Mhm.
But also, I've been really fortunate to make sport part of my everyday life as a professional. So I can see, like, I keep using this word beauty, but it's like so beautiful when you see that click like in people understanding that instant gratification isn't a thing and they totally just invest in the reps. They invest in the little things because it's making them a better person. It's not just doing what somebody said because they told you to do it. Like, oh, I get it. I have to do this step and this step and this step to get better, but I have to do all those steps also to grow my character as a human being, to be a contributing member of society, to just be that person that I've always wanted to be.
That's so cool. I bet when you're saying that, I just feel like you probably get some of the best conversations and comments inside the cage or inside the facility of working with your lessons. Can you for anybody who's not familiar with what you're doing with defense lessons, and can you explain what that looks like from what ages are these girls? Like, how are you doing group training? What does that look like?
Yes. So defense lessons, I've been doing those for over 10 years now in Anaheim, California. I'm out of the workshop. So if you see videos and all that, it is the exact same facility as like Gentro catching. We started as a package deal and now we are kind of doing our own thing. So defense lessons, we do group classes from 5:30 to 9:30 Monday through Thursday. And our classes are kind of sectioned by age and ability. So most of my 5:30 classes are that 10 to 12U transitional class where I've got like second year 10s that are learning how to throw the new ball, first year 12s that are still not like super confident. Maybe they've got like a face mask on still, and we're like learning how to play a faster paced game. My 6:30 classes are normally more beginner, got 8 to 10U girls in there. Then my 7:30 class is 12 to 14U, 8:30 class is high school. So these classes are anywhere from 6 to 16 people big. So we're inside a facility and I structure them kind of as in my mind, it's the learning process. I have a lot of time to think about these lessons and to think like why I want to put each piece in the way I do. And as deep as I can get in like these conversations, classes are really fast. I'm not just talking at the kids. It's a really fast pace. We do wall ball to get kids comfortable, to introduce them like, hey, it's about catching and throwing. We're just throwing a tennis ball against the wall. Say hi to everybody, talk about what you have for dinner, whatever. I don't care what you talk about, do wall ball. Then we do our updates. So I get to like actually talk to each kid in the circle. All right, name an update. What do you got? And some of them are like, hey, I went 3 for 4 this weekend. Some of them go, hey, I got an A- on my math test. Hey, my uncle's in town and I get to visit with him. So they can share anything that they want. Then we do a little dynamic warm up and we do our station work. Station work is where we break things down. And this is, I think, the difference between my classes and probably a lot of the field work, because there's a lot of really good work that's going on. I know Mike Stiff does lessons. I know I've heard the name Chris Garcia. Um, I'm gonna forget some people, but there's a lot of really good field work that's going on in Southern California. And there's, I think, the reason I don't think I compete with them is there's a place for all of us. So I really focus on fundamentals and breaking down like body position, footwork, glove work, uh, and understanding that so that they have a great foundation to build off of. And whether that's a beginner or a high school player, I was learning some of this stuff as a college player. So I don't think that it's age specific, but a lot of beginners will gravitate to me because their parents will see these and go, oh, my daughter needs foundational stuff. When in reality, it's like everybody needs foundational stuff, but only only some people will do that. Uh, so then after station work, we do live balls. And then a lot of the conversations that you're talking about, I will notice these moments like with kind of my youngers or even my high school kids and some of the comments they'll make. I have a really cool role that I get to play because I will notice that some of the moments are maybe profound, right? Like, uh, we get to do like these note cards. Sometimes we do a mental station and I'll like list out questions that I want them to answer. And one of my questions might be, what's your favorite thing that you've learned in lessons so far? Right. And it's more of like a perspective tool, writing these things out. And I'll get answers like, um, I learned uh, how to be more confident in staying in front of the ball. Or like some of the language that they'll use is like really cool because I know that I'm using that language and they're like learning how to use it as well. So, yeah, as far as the conversation, I think I get a lot out of it. I think the girls obviously do as well, but I'm really thankful that I get to do it because I think my lessons inform my online teaching, which ultimately we know the internet, you can reach everybody anywhere. So I'm very thankful. Like in my mind, I use my lessons kind of as my research tool to inform the rest of everything that I put out there.
Curious, I've never asked you this, but I know you've had the opportunity to coach, whether it was at college or probably high school or travel ball, but you've gone the private instructor route. What has, I guess, what made you go that route, and what's kept you in this role too?
What made me go there was I actually had two college coaching opportunities. Went one as a volunteer at UC Riverside, which is a very different role than an actual paid assistant. So I coached as my first year as a paid assistant at Loyola Marymount, and it was a great experience. I got a lot of freedom. I was in charge of the hitters. I put together like a curriculum for everybody. And I just felt like I was pulled in so many directions. These college coaches have a really, really tough job. You've got to think about your current team, develop your current team and the individual players, and then you've got to do all the paperwork and all the recruiting and think about future teams. And I really, really love development. I'm in love with it, right? Like I can break it down from like the fundamentals all the way up to understanding like what learning is all about. And then the whole, I can get very, very deep in it. And that I felt like my gifts in that way were best suited to go youth development and private instruction, and starting my own business was the best route for me. I think about my work a ton, which as a business owner, like you have to do that. You kind of have to be like thinking about what's next. It might be to my detriment sometimes, but I think anybody listening to this that has done private instruction or marketing on their own or running their own business, I say, yeah, I didn't want to be a college coach because I was doing so many other things. But in reality, when you're running your own business, you're now doing all of these other things
Mm.
uh, to do this one thing that you really, really love. So what's kept me in it, I guess, is those life lessons and getting the kids at such a young level that um, I think I'm able to really affect their thought process, their self talk. Maybe obviously not as much as their parents or their coaches that they see every single week, but I think I'm able to be a good influence before they get to college, and you're dealing with more of a concrete structure than a really moldable youth athlete. Which those college kids, the older I get, the younger they seem. So I'm like, huh, that seems a little bit more like intriguing to me is those athletes because you can, gosh, some of them you can just really want to work with that one because they're so talented and that would be so fun. So I don't know if I'll stay here forever, but I think I'm in a really, really sweet spot right now.
It's cool. I mean, and I think you're a testament to there's a lot of people out there that maybe college coaching just isn't for them, but the ability to create your own business, and I know how hard you work at doing that. So it's definitely it's a tough route, but it's fun to follow that. So I think you're a great role model for others that are interested in going that route. I'm you we did a webinar the other day. We've been doing a full month of lay your groundwork and talking defense. And you said a couple of things, Morgan, that I want to have you elaborate on a little bit more. Fundamentals never age. I know I asked you that in the webinar too, but I loved your answer. I love that phrase when it comes to defense. Can you explain what you mean when you said fundamentals never age?
Absolutely. Fundamentals never age because we work on the little things in defense so that we don't have to think about them during the game. And I think one of the biggest things that puts or that gets in players' way when they are playing is their brain, right? Their mind. What are they thinking about? And I think that happens even more maybe in the higher levels. So we're talking about fundamentals. You hear people like Amanda Lorenz or Sierra Romero or whoever it is that professionally, how do you gain confidence? Majority of them will say, I gain confidence through preparation. What do you think they're practicing? Are they practicing these super intricate moves where they're like, I don't know, off balance? And yeah, they have fun. They can do really cool things. But if you actually watch their practice sessions, if you watch these Major League Baseball players, the Red Sox, Yankees, Angels, all these players, they're practicing their fundamentals. And that not only is going like you train your body, but you're also training your mind to trust your body. So in terms of fundamentals, I teach that's pretty much all I teach. And then like kind of the fun stuff, throwing on the run. There's fundamentals within throwing in the run that's debatable if it's a fundamental or not. But um yeah, everyone needs them. Everybody.
Sweet. Another one, and I know you have a lot of this in your defense club too, routines. Can you talk when because routines could be like a broad thing, right? But when you say, just routines and why are they important, and how can an athlete start working, or incorporating routine into their training?
Yeah, routine. They're important because they help us to funnel down our mentally and get kind of prepared. It helps us be more confident or comfortable in maybe an unknown setting. So having the same routine, no matter where you're practicing, is going to get you a little bit more focused on what you're actually doing. Your routine isn't actually like what you're learning that day. You know how to do it. You're very comfortable in doing it. So in terms of what I would recommend for maybe an infielder routine, we would always do, I mean, outside of throwing, because throwing is its own animal, you can have your own routine within throwing. I would say starting with short hops or everydays, a lot of people call it. Start with stationary picks, go 10 forehand, 10 middle, 10 backhand. A lot of my higher level infielders will go all just glove hand instead of going the two hand route because a lot of people, it's not trendy. I think it's everybody's been doing it for a long time, but just training your glove hand. Then you go into your dynamic picks, which is your feet start moving. So you go 10 forehand, or not 10 forehand, sorry, four forehand, one where your feet move to first, one where your feet move to second, to third, and then to home from your position that you're going to be playing in the game. So that's all to your forehand side. They do the same thing middle, same thing backhand. And then in college, I used to do like a round with my partner of good hop, bad hop. You guys can look up that drill. A lot of people do it. So catch the ball on the second short hop or throw the ball up and you're timing up your feet. But your routine can be anywhere from 5 to 10, or not even 5 to 10 minutes, probably like 3 to 6 minutes, like short, but really concise and really focused. And I think that's important to own it. So you're not just going through the motions and just doing it for the mental piece of feeling comfortable, but also knowing and getting prepared for harder things is really beneficial.
Of that. I'm curious, when you talk about like traits of a great infielder, and I'm sure, do you find moments where, like what you were saying with your classes, of you have kind of age groups, and then they're, I guess, what level are they at right now? Can you see that in a young infielder and like, man, all right, she's gonna be really good. And I'm curious in your mind, I guess first, can you see that in young players? And then what typically are those traits that you would define as a really high level elite infielder?
Yes, you get a really good idea just based on athleticism and attention to detail. Like those are the biggest things in like super elite, right? So I think about like a Hannah Core. Hannah Core is a current Oklahoma player, but she has always played outfield, but she also was shortstop. So when you think about, I think about her a lot of the time. I think about some of my current infielders that I know are going to go, and I've had them since they were 8, 9 years old. And I'm not saying they never got bored of like the stuff that you seem like you do all the time,
Mm.
but I think one of the biggest things in attention to detail is they raise the level of the people around them. So in other words, uh, they never let their mechanics just like fall off because other people around them weren't focused. They were always the best in their group. And they raised the intensity of the class because they were paying attention. So I think a really elite infielder is also a leader in that sense. And then in terms of, I mean, if you want to get really technical, really good glove awareness, like making sure that their glove is actually out in front of their eyes, whether they're like on the run, they have really good timing of their glove. A lot of Um, you can have really athletic people, but they are really late with their glove. And it's like, okay, this person is either a little bit more new to softball, that maybe they played a different sport, or they just have some more work to do and they're not elite yet.
I'm just gonna go ahead and jump into some what I call rapid fire. They might not necessarily be, but one of the questions I want to add, who's your favorite infielder in college to watch right now and why?
Favorite infielder right now in college? JV. This is so bad because I barely watch college softball. I guess I'm watching Oregon right now. So Paige Sinicki, the shortstop, she's super, super fun to watch. And she's a small kid. She's actually a former Corona Angel. And I love watching her feet. Yeah, because when you're a small kid, you have to use your feet really, really efficiently because you sometimes have to make it for arm strength. Not saying your arm's not good, but she's super fun to watch. She bounces around a lot. Really good.
She's a fun one. She's a fun one. See, that was good. Put you on the spot. Put you on the spot again.
I got nervous. I'm like, I don't know anybody. Oh my God.
What about outfielders? Do you have a favorite outfielder? I know you're the infield coach, but I got to give love to my outies.
Well, I love Hannah Core. Hannah Core, Oklahoma. She might not be the most well known Oklahoma Sooner, but I say this a lot actually when talking about Oklahoma. You know, those kids are the starters on that team are so good because they are probably the best 9 softball players in the world at that time or in the nation, we'll say. Uh, yeah, with all the transfers happening and the ability of people to go in and um, just the game changing in that way, even though Hannah Core does not start every single game, she is still my favorite outfielder to watch. She's so freaking athletic and just goes for it. And so, shout out Hannah Core.
Those are two Alliance All Stars, Morgan, both from the inaugural All Star class of the Alliance. So
Bam.
I'm big fans too. I'm curious. Part of playing defense, or at least for me, there were certain pitchers. Not that I played different behind a one pitcher or the other, but there are some pitchers that just like, man, they fire you up and like will go all
Oh.
out. You got
Mhm.
I've always been curious what it's like to Danielle Laurie to me seems like one of those pitchers. But can you speak to that? I guess what was it like playing behind her and like what is your thought on playing behind pitchers?
I love playing behind Danielle. First and foremost, she was definitely uh, the. I mean, that's a no brainer. If your pitcher's fired up, you want to do everything in your power. And I've had the opportunity to play behind, like when she's fighting for a no hitter, when she's pitching against UMass for 15 innings. Like these kind of things don't happen anymore. And I think when I'm watching like our current world of college softball and there's a lot more teams pitching by committee, I'm just like, where, like, why is there just one pitcher? Like, why do I have to know all these pitchers on all these teams? Like, it's cool because I love that the pitchers are taking care of their bodies and like everybody, the staff has to be really, really elite to take you that far. But man, Danielle was really fun to play behind because she had it in her mind that like, all right, let's go. Get on my back. Like, I've got you guys. And so in turn, as a defense, you're like, "Dude, I've got you. Like anything around me, I'm gonna get."
Okay, I'm glad because I'm like, I never took a play off, but at the same time, like, I played behind Scarborough and then Megan Gibson in '08 when Megan's like, "Man, I got hurt." Megan said, "Give me the ball." And, like, just that fieriness, like, I don't know, my body extended a little more or, like, you just get so fired up playing behind pitchers like that, and so I never played on the same team as Danielle, I only struck out a lot against her, so I was curious from your perspective of playing behind her.
Yeah, I loved being on her team, and then on the flip side, in, like, scrimmages, I hated being against her because she's so, like, oh my, not even just hitting, but just watching her on the other side, you're like, "Somebody just get a hit." Oh, and then you're like, "Okay, now I'm in my head, she's really good." She's just really good.
It's funny. What's what is and I don't know if you have one, but a go-to defensive drill or something you would do if you ever had a bad game?
If I ever had a bad game, live reps fix a lot of things. So, I would if I did have a bad game, I would just have drills. Obviously, I love drills. I've got the black book of drills. Like, yeah, let's drill it up. But I think some people get overly obsessed with drills because they are like quick fixes, right? Like, I get so many like questions on Instagram. What's a drill for this? What's a drill for this? It's like, you don't need a drill. You just need to do it. Just do it the right way. Just over and over, do it.
Mhm.
Right. So,
Interesting.
I love just being on the actual dirt because a lot of times what you messed up on was misreading the ball. So if you're having trouble at your position or something happens, a lot of these kids aren't getting like as many reps as they probably need to get comfortable at different positions because everything's a different timing. So I love that all these kids now play 2, 3, 4 positions even, but you need to estimate, you need 10,000 hours, 10,000 reps. We'll say reps, I guess, because 10,000 hours is a lot for like a 12-year-old, but um, you need a lot of time for your body to adjust, say, even from going to third base to shortstop. That's a very big difference in the timing of your feet and your prep
Yeah.
step, the time that you have to react to a ball. And then also each throw is a little bit different. And then what your eye sees when you look up. So there's a lot of things, there's a lot of variables that reps will help your body to learn, not even you knowing that you're learning it, but doing it over and over is going to help you get more prepared.
And my last but I've always been big on legacy. I think it was a Coach Evans thing of how you want to leave something. So for you, and especially with what you've created now with your online with Defense Club, what do you want the legacy specifically of Defense Club? What do you want the legacy to be there? Your legacy to be? Big question.
Let's see. Big question. Two things come to mind. One, that word equip. I love the word equip because I don't want uh, players to ever feel like they need me. I want to give them everything I've got so that they take it and run with it. Second thing would be the phrase hard work always pays off. And it might not pay off in the way that you want it to, meaning so many kids set these goals like, I want to go play Washington. I want to play at Oklahoma, right? But the body of work that you put in to attain, like to reach that goal, you're going to get so much out of that work that you don't even know what you're getting at the time and whether things work out the way that you envision it, or you reach that quote unquote goal that you wanted to get to. You're learning so much about yourself in the process. And that ultimately um, is a great goal to aspire to as well, is learning about yourself through sport.
So good. You answered that really, really quick. I got a bonus question because I'm curious now. What do you think is and maybe it's not one trait, but what do you think a trait that you developed, speaking of that, as an athlete, that you use in business to this day? Like what do you think's the most the biggest trait or like the most commonly like what made you successful as an athlete that makes you successful now?
I'm also going to answer with two different things. One, uh, persistence, I think is a trait that is so necessary. And persistence and I guess patience. I never really had patience as an athlete, but it's something that I've developed in business, and we're still not very good at it, but I'm learning. Uh, and then I guess the idea that I never thought that I was average. So in terms of like being an athlete, I always thought like this could be taken in a negative way as well, and might be some of the reasons why I was so hard on myself, but I never wanted to be just average. So like I guess when well, Morgan, you play travel ball. A lot of people don't even play travel ball. Morgan, you're like at Washington. A lot of people don't even make it to Washington. But like, okay, my goal wasn't just to make it there. My goal wasn't just to play. It was to excel. So I think that's one of the biggest things that I take into business is like, I don't just want to be here. I want to be the best. So I think that's when my girls and the people that I work with every week really benefit is I'm not just like sitting around and going, yeah, man, I've got really good business going. I want to learn the newest things. I want to keep researching. I want to keep learning and doing things that are going to make these athletes the healthiest they can possibly be, the most mentally resilient, and ultimately just set them up for success in their future.
So good. I knew as soon as you answered, I was like, she's gonna answer this really well. So that's I and it's fun to learn that too. I think you're spot on. I see that with you too, just the way you prepare, even going into your lessons and everything that you're doing. So I knew this would be a fun car ride home. I knew it was gonna be I think you're a bigger nerd than I am, and I mean that as a compliment. So it was fun to, to go deep on certain topics. So Morgan, thanks for joining us on the car ride. And look, right at an hour. It's like your normal car rides, that you took back and forth.
Hey, like we just got to Orange County from Riverside. That's perfect.
That's perfect. So anybody out there going from Riverside to Corona, you're welcome for filling up, this hour here.
There you go.
Real quick,
Thanks for having me.
where can people find you? How can they find you?
They can find me at morgan-stuart.com. That's going to take you to pretty much everything I've got. So my lessons, if you want to request a lesson, if you are local, we've got an application on there. You can fill out all your info, and then Defense Club from anywhere and everywhere. I'm teaching all that I've ever taught and more in there. So yeah, Defense Club is the place to be if you're not in Southern California.
I love it. Now athletes from everywhere can train with you, and I highly encourage them to do that. So Morgan, appreciate you taking the time, and thanks for joining us. Hey guys, we hope you're enjoying the Car Ride Home podcast. Hopefully we're filling the air and making your car ride home a little bit more enjoyable. Please be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube, and leave us a review. If you have any special guest or requests that you'd like to hear, or have us bring a guest or a story onto the podcast, shoot us an email, info@thealliancefastpitch.com. We'd love to hear from you.